Hello and welcome to our video series for leaders in IT. Today's question comes from an IT leader who has asked us about tips for giving feedback to a team member. And actually it's more than one, so we've had this question quite a lot.
Yeah, it's quite common when we talk to people. We all understand that certainly if you're trying to make change or you're improving the quality of service or change really, feedback is absolutely essential. But being able to give that feedback to people is sometimes a bit of a block for people.
Yeah, and timing's important, particularly you're in a frenetic world, things are going on and you can quite easily forget. But it's important to remember to give that feedback. Or
deprioritise, and then a few weeks later you wonder why the person is still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So in this video we want to talk a bit about some things that you certainly shouldn't do, and we'll add and share some tips of things that you can think about it. There's nothing that we're going to say or do in this video that won't stop you having to get up and talk to some people and perhaps be candid and be very honest about what it is that a person is doing. Finally, that's the only way they will ever know what it is that you were trying to get them to know. So before we get to that point, what general tips? How would you approach giving somebody feedback?
Practice it. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, and it becomes more normal.
Yeah.
I also would say is don't do it in the middle of the floor, particularly if it's important and it could be seen as negative feedback, and also don't haunch them off into a room. So try and make it, if you practice it, make it more fluid, it becomes much more normal.
So what do you mean by don't take them off to a room?
So it's like, Bob, can we have a word please?
Why wouldn't you do that?
Because you are focused on that individual may feel really uncomfortable or go, oh my goodness, what have I done wrong? That would be the automatic response.
Yeah.
And then also you've got everyone else looking at you and it can just make you feel inferior.
Exactly. The reason I called you on that is because I knew exactly what you meant.
Did you like my voice as well?
I did. It's your... I was frightened. It depends on what you're trying to achieve out of the other side of it. If you're talking about, or you're giving somebody critical, negative, however you want to word it, feedback, absolutely do that privately. And if you do that in a way that doesn't just kind of pull people off of the floor, it does it at least in a fairly sensitive, respectful way. You're not humiliating someone amongst their team. Agreed. The one thing I will say is if you're delivering positive feedback though, don't keep that private.
Yes.
If you're trying to encourage a team to behave in a certain way and you see somebody do something, they wrapped up a call, they added an amazing summary to it, whatever the behaviour you need in your organisation, and you see someone do it, why not say, that was really awesome. I would just link that to one bit of very important tip is be specific. Don't just say, great job Bob, super. What did you do? The way that you wrapped up that call with a customer was absolutely fantastic. You were very clear about what you'd done, what the next steps were. They left the call with very clear expectations, and undoubtedly the notes in the ticket are going to reflect that. But I'm being specific. I'm calling out the actual behaviour they did.
And that specific nature is important too, because you're not just putting the same person on a pedestal in front of everyone, so you're not shaming everyone else. No. You're actually saying, you're not going, here's a hero, how amazing, brilliant for our customer. You're actually saying that particular point you did brilliantly. Yeah. Well done.
That action, that behaviour, quite. There's leading on from that about putting people on pedestals and otherwise. There's lots of theory about a blend of feedback. Should you give all good feedback or 50-50 or whatever the number is? I don't subscribe to the idea that any of those are right, because it generally depends on the person. However, as a theme, I would always tend to provide more positive, supporting, reinforcing feedback than I would critical. And so, someone that I've worked with for some time, I like his phrase of saying, you need to earn the right to be critical. And I think you can do that by building more rapport over time.
Yeah, I agree.
That critical feedback then becomes less of a telling off and more of a, oh, what you think I could do better if I position. It's much better.
Yes, well, positive reinforcement, we know, it goes a long way. It helps you grow much more quickly than negative. If you're always getting negative feedback, you're just going to go, oh, for goodness sake.
I won't bother.
And then just, you'll retreat back, whereas positive, you're nudging people forward.
Yeah, quite. Okay, so what else? What else? Be specific, a blend of performance, make sure the environment is correct when you provide the feedback. What else?
Well, aside from practicing, you could also develop a coaching style to learn how to ask the right questions, which I quite like doing. So you start off with asking a question, ask them how it went, and then the individual will come back and say, oh, you know, and then you start those conversations together, but then you are creating an action plan at the end. So you're almost like agreeing, okay, well, next time we could do this, or we could practice this, or I could help you, or what else could you do? So moving on from the feedback sandwich, it's much more of a specific questions, agreeable, things not to do, things to work on, and then you've got a nice little action plan that they can go away. So there's no surprises in there. You've had a good, meaningful conversation.
But it sounds much more like an evaluation.
It is, yeah.
Together of a thing. So it's not one specific, I don't like how you made my tea. We're talking about something much deeper.
So they've had to design something, or stood up and did a presentation, or however it looks.
Okay. Because you said it, I think we should address it, or I feel compelled to address it. You said feedback sandwich. Please don't. That's the approach of a piece of good feedback, a piece of bad feedback, and a piece of good feedback in the same conversation or in the same sentence. I really love what you do over there, that's awful, but that's great. It just doesn't leave anybody with anything.
From it, and you don't have that action planned.
It's confusion. Yeah. That approach is all for the feedback giver, not for the recipient. And feedback is about the recipient. It's giving them something that they can work with. A feedback sandwich might make it easier for you to deliver, but it loses the purpose. So less is more in feedback. If someone's done something wrong and they need to know that they've done something wrong because for whatever, tell them. They'll respect you more for being honest and candid and direct than they ever will for you kind of worrying about sharing the feedback.
Super. Well, I hope that helps, and you've got some tips out of that. If you have any tips you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, we'll catch up with you again soon. Thank you.